Good day. It's a beautiful day to be alive and well. And I hope most certainly the day has started well for you. Welcome to yet another exciting and engaging episode of Political Spectrum, coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. I am your host, Onumese Ehinoma Olusegun. And today our focus majorly would be recent developments facing our nation's economy. Let's begin. Petrol increase caused by market forces. That statement is attributed to Mele Kyari. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) on Tuesday attributed the rise in the petroleum pump prices in the country to market forces. The NNPCL Group Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Mele Kyari, disclosed this while speaking to journalists after a closed-door meeting with the Vice President Kashim Shettima at the State House in Abuja. Mr. Kyari said with deregulation of the oil sector, marketers' realities will force the price of petrol up sometimes and at the other times force it down. We have the marketing wing of our company, he says. They adjust prices depending on the market realities. This is really what is happening. This is the meaning of making sure that the market regulates itself so that prices will go up and sometimes they will come down also. This is what we have seen, and in the reality, this is how the market works, he said. He further explained that there is no supply issue as there are enough petroleum products for onward distribution across the country. When you go to the market, you buy the product. You come to the market, you sell it at the prevailing market price. Nothing to do with supply. We don't have supply issues. There is a robust supply. We have over 32 days of supply in the country, he said. What I know is that market forces regulate the market. Prices will go down sometimes, then sometimes it will go up, but there will be stability of supply. And I'm also assuring Nigerians that this is the best way to go forward so that we can adjust prices when market forces come to play. I don't have the details at the moment, but I petroleum products today. So many of them are online. I am sure my colleagues will confirm this. Market forces have started to play. People have started having confidence in the market. Private sector people are importing products, but there is no way they can recover their cost if they cannot take market reflective cost. Now, could this be the effect of rise in crude oil? All right, now let's also, speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed, attributed the rise in the price to the global crude oil price increase. As a regulator, I took you back in May that we are not going to be setting prices. The market will determine itself, and as you saw back in early June, when prices came out, it was based on the cost of importation, plus other logistics of distribution, and of course, the profit margin for the importer, Mr. Ahmed had said. This market is deregulated. It is open to all participants. As I mentioned, out of those, 10 of them have indicated to supply within the third quarter, which is July, August, and September. Already we received some cargoes from the marketers. From the marketers, some of their cargoes are arriving from tomorrow, which is today. He noted that the development ensures that the market is liberated and everyone is free to import as long as they work within the framework, especially in terms of quality. But to pricing, as a regulator, we are not going to put a cap on the price because we are not part of those importing. We are not a marketing company. We are just a regulator. So when you say market forces are working, basically what it is that you buy, you consider the price of crude going up. A couple of weeks ago, the price of crude was hovering around $70 per barrel. Now it's hovering around $80 per barrel. So the crude oil price also drives the product price. Now, what is the background of all this? Let's see what the background is. Earlier on Tuesday, petroleum pump prices rose to 617 naira per litre, proved an upward review in the pump price of petroleum nationwide. Recall that President Bola Tinubu had announced the removal of fuel subsidies in his inaugural address on the 29th of May. Following the announcement, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Company Limited directed its outlets nationwide to sell fuel between 480 and 570 per litre, an over 200% increase from the initial price below 200. The hike immediately triggered an increase in transportation fares and prices of goods and services. So, the question is, what is hope for the average Nigerian, especially families expecting just 8,000 monthly subsidy palliative from government? I guess the future will tell. Now, still on the economy, Nigerian Labour Congress slams federal government on the issue of 500 billion palliative, says they are robbing the poor to feed the rich. The NLC, in a statement by its president, Joe Ajero, on Tuesday argued that the federal government was seeking to impoverish the people further by taking steps that can only be described as robbing the people of Nigeria to pay and feed the rich. The Apex Labor Organization said, rather than reciprocate the goodwill of Nigerian workers, the federal government had insisted on threading the path of dictatorship. It is on this basis that the NLC strongly condemns the decision of the Tinubu-led administration to seek the approval of the National Assembly to obtain another tranche of external loan worth 500 billion naira from the World Bank to carry out a phantom palliative measure to cushion the effect of its poorly thought out hike in the price of premium motor spirit, it said. The organization in Nigeria recalled that $800 million already proposed before the government devaluation of the naira was worth about 400 billion naira, but had risen to about 650 billion post devaluation. It proposes to bring out 500 billion for distribution, it added. The proposal to pay 8,000 to each of the so-called 12 million poorest Nigerian households for 6 months insults our collective intelligence, I'm still quoting the NLC, and makes a mockery of our patience and abiding faith in the social dialogue which the government may have alluded to, albeit pretentiously. According to the NLC, the further proposal to pay National Assembly members the sum of 70 billion naira and the judiciary the sum of 36 billion is the most insensitive, reckless and brazen diversion of our collective patrimony into the pockets of public officers whose sworn responsibility it is to protect our nation's treasury, the NLC badges on. The labor body raised concerns that the move might amount to hush money and outright bribery for the other arms of government to acquiesce the aberration. It decried the idea of the government that had foisted so much hardship on the people within nearly 2 months of assuming office, making an unconscionable proposal that reward the rich in public office to the detriment of the poor. What this means all is that the government is seeking ways of robbing the very poor Nigerians so that the rich can become richer, it added. There is no other way to explain the proposal to pay a misery sum of 8,000 naira to each of the mysterious poorest 12 million households for 6 months, which amounts to 48,000 and pays just 469 national legislators 70 billion, or about 149 million each, while the judiciary that has about 72 appeal court judges, 33 national industrial court judges, 75 federal high court judges, and 21 Supreme Court judges, and a total of about 201 judges received a total of 35 billion naira, or 174 million each. Now, if these other two arms are projected to receive this, what members of the Executive Council will receive is better left to the imagination of Nigerians. Perhaps the balance of the 150 billion will go to them. These statements are made by the NLC. The NLC may have some germane issues here, but depending on the side you may be on, the optics are often different from our different positions. Now you be the judge. All right, in our next report, civil society organizations urge President Tinubu not to appoint past corrupt leaders. Now, in this new and recent development, President Bola Tinubu has been strongly advised to distance himself from corrupt former governors, especially those that served between 1999 to 2007. Now, recall that about 5 days ago, President Tinubu hosted about 20 former governors who served during his time as governor of Lagos State. That group was also nicknamed the famous class of 99, which Abdullahi Adamu, the immediate past national chairman of APC, was a part of, but refused to show up. Now, addressing newsmen on Tuesday in Abuja, President of the Civil Liberties Organization, CLO, Mr. Igo Akarega, a seasoned journalist and member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, claimed that most of the president's colleagues plundered the resources of their various states with reckless abandon, stating that Tinubu must not allow them to milk the country again. He said, "We are all witnesses to how Nigeria, our dear country, which holds so much promises as a global leader at independence on October 1st, 1960, has been destroyed by successive leaders. The founding fathers of Nigeria from the north and south had great dreams, and they patriotically laid good foundation for a great country. Now, in recent times, and regrettably so, Nigeria is now officially rated as the poverty capital of the world, one of the most corrupt countries, a safe haven for bandits and terrorists, a country with so much oil and gas resources but imports fuel, a nation with 4 moribund and dead refineries that gulp billions of dollars in turnaround maintenance, which is a conduit pipe for stealing public funds by every new government. Nigeria is now a comfortable environment and destination for all manners of criminal enterprises to thrive. The implication of poor and inept management of the country is supported by the recent report by the Debt Management Office, which discloses that Nigeria's total foreign debt for the period ending March 31st, 2023 has risen to 49.85 trillion naira, which is equivalent of $108.3 billion, from 46.25 trillion as at December 21st, 2022. The Civil Liberties Organization is appalled by the recent developments in the country, where in June, a former governor of Delta State indicted for corruption led Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, the former governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, to visit President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Aso Rock. Ibori, a member of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), was in office when Tinubu was governor of Lagos State between 1990 and 2007. And on July the 12th, former Governor Lucky Gbinedion of Edo State, who also was indicted for corruption but took advantage of a plea bargain to escape jail, was among more than 20 former governors, including Ibori, who visited Tinubu at the presidential villa. Apart from the few good ones among them, many of these governors who hid under an amorphous non-de-guerre class of 1999 were notorious for setting the template for massive corruption in the country by fleecing their states and stashing the looted funds in foreign bank accounts. Meanwhile, the CLO executive director, Ibuchukwu Ezike, frowned at the increase of the price of fuel from 540 naira to 617 per litre. Ezike charged citizens to rise up in defense of their rights, noting that the sharp increase was unwise, going by the harsh economic conditions biting citizens. Let me state here that it is interesting to note that the CLO is about the fourth in a successive rows of civil society organizations to advise Tinubu over the issue of not appointing corrupt individuals into his administration. Now, hear this. Sometimes around 10th of June last month, news media reported that the Civil Society Legislative and Advocacy Center and Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria have called on the President, Bola Tinubu, not to appoint recycled and corrupt politicians into his cabinet. They said in as much as he might be under pressure to appoint former governors who supported him during the electioneering campaign, he should look beyond party affiliation to appoint persons that will help him deliver on his promises. Interestingly, also, around 19th of June or so, a coalition of 30 anti-corruption civil society organizations have also called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to revive anti-corruption fight in the country and reel out agenda to curb its spread. The executive director, CISLAC, Mr. Ibrahim Rafsanjani, said, and I quote, "For Tinubu to succeed, he must not populate his government with outgoing officials who did nothing to improve Nigeria's public image. He must avoid corrupt people, those who demonstrated cluelessness while in office. He should bring on board men who can do the job and must avoid past governors who were famous for bad governance in their states." Now, Rafsanjani said that the nation had been plagued with corrupt practices manifesting in different forms for many years, and this has resulted in slowness in judicial processes. He listed low reporting of corrupt practices by citizens due to mistrust in the system, lack of whistleblower and witness protection law to protect whistleblowers, underfunding of anti-graft agencies and non-adherence to law as part of corruption. Also, the national coordinator for HURIWA, that's Human Rights Association of Nigeria, Emmanuel Onwubiko, stated Tinubu should not appoint politicians who have cases with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission or those associated with fraudulent businesses or any sort of criminal enterprise. The criminal records of all nominees must be vetted by the appropriate security authorities like the police, Department of State Services, the FCC, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission. Meanwhile, the Director of Publicity of the APC, Bala Ibrahim, says the composition of the cabinet is the prerogative of the president and not a party affair, and that if he needs input from the party, he would reach out. All right, that's about a few of our conversations this morning. We'll take a short break. Thereafter, we'll introduce our guest, and then we'll get on the conversation. Remember, this is Political Spectrum on Spectrum TV, coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
What people don't understand, and I think the media should understand this, when government roll out certain programs and policies, you see, I read in the headlines, oh, federal government to that is not the story. The story should have been federal government rolls out funds to further enslave Nigerians. When they see such, I mean, when I was editor of Insider, The Source, those are the kind of headlines that I can. You don't come, there's interpretative journalism. You are a Nigerian. Government says it's going to give 8,000 naira to family, 45,000 naira to about 5 people in 6 months. We all knew what happened to trade that money, which a professor of law, Oshibanjo, was distributing, going to markets. What a shame. What a shame we have in this country, where a professor of law can be reduced by Buhari, who barely went to school, who struggled to look for a school certificate. He sent Oshibanjo on a white goose chase, going to markets and giving 2,000 to people, women selling tomato and pepper. And the rest of us, we are laughing. Today, the tiger that was destroyed yesterday, if you don't tame that tiger, the tiger will enter your bedroom. Who brought Buhari? It is Tinubu himself. Before our very eyes. And Tinubu told us that it is now his turn to preside over the affairs of Nigeria. We all thought that the man has a different approach. But what we have seen so far is really not more ruthless policies. More vicious and ruthless policies. This is not about wherever you come from in this country, whether you are a Yoruba man, Igbo man, it's no longer about tribe or religion. It's about class interest. These individuals are protecting their own class. And they are determined to do it at the expense and at the blood of Nigerians. And that's why CLO is saying today that enough is enough. 8,000 naira is an insult. If you like, 8,000 naira, we did the math, the arithmetic a few days ago. Each member of the National Assembly, from 1999 till date, which law has the National Assembly passed that moved poor Nigerians, that took poor Nigerians from the poverty noose to a situation where they can feed themselves. China, with a country of 1.48 billion, every year the Chinese take 100 million people out of poverty. It is there. Check the records. Look at the data. Look at the figures. It is there. Then people will come and tell us they are a class of 1999 when Governor Tinubu was governor. We were also governors. They are not telling Nigerians what did they do with the power they had for 8 years as governors. They are not a class. It has not been. So they are telling Nigerians that they are back. Their man is back in power. Therefore, they themselves, they are back. And the rest of us are watching. Let me tell you, the next few months, if Nigerians do not do something about this group of people, calling themselves, they are rulers, not leaders, calling themselves leaders, quote and unquote. Where is the palliative? Where is the palliative that was promised? People thought that Tinubu would come and say, okay, in the first 6 months, we are going to fix 2 of the refineries to work. Okay, we are going to do this number of roads. Nigerians should be able to drive on roads. I remember when Goodluck Jonathan and I think whatever, they increased fuel prices. We just imagine. We saw Rufai buses in Abuja. We saw a semblance of intervention. What we have just seen here, we thought we had entered a one-chance bus, which in Lagos they call it Kumbi bus. This one is a long-seater bus with Tinubu. But if he thinks Nigerians have been conquered, he should wait for us. We are not conquered. We are not a conquered people.
Please,
now to this day.
Let me also talk about this. Talking about 8,000, I want to ask, how much do we need?
All right, welcome back, and many thanks for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, it is Political Spectrum, and the last video you just watched was the video of Mr. Akarega. Igor Akarega is a known journalist, a member of the Editors Guild of Nigeria, and is also a member of civil society. And you could hear all the things he laid down, which will form part of our conversations today. Real quick, let me quickly introduce to you a very special guest who is also an active member of civil society, an advocate, an interventionist, a known name here in the city of Uyo, Mr. Citizens Matthew Kofi Okono. That is Citizen MKO. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you.
Thank you so much.
How's it been?
We are trying to adjust every bolt and nut in our bodies.
I can imagine.
To fit into the times.
I can imagine. All right.
On a lighter note,
yeah.
Somebody said the situation in Nigeria now is such that before if you want to ask somebody for direction, you start by apologizing. I beg no vex.
Because even when you ask for direction, it can cause problem. I can imagine.
So everything is I beg no vex before you say anything.
Okay. All right, moving in. You've seen all the stuff we have gone through.
Yeah.
Let's start from the fuel increase. The fuel increase significantly over 300% has increased, and twice in less than 2 months of the administration of Tinubu, under the claims of removal of subsidy. Now help us with an overview. How do you see this recent development? Just an overview.
Thank you very much. I agree with our viewers. I want to say that the issue of removal of fuel subsidy and fuel subsidy itself didn't just start now. Unfortunately, it's like even the system of governance that we are running, we call ourselves a Federal Republic of Nigeria, but we are running a unitary system, which is an indictment over the years. And the subsidy aspect has become even more disturbing than the system of administration that we are running. Why? I recall that in 2012, precisely I think January 1st, 2012, the Jonathan administration announced the removal of fuel subsidy.
I remember very well.
It was so sudden. And opposition party then
sparked a lot of uproar.
So much uproar, including even the people in the ruling party were not comfortable. I am a patriot. It doesn't matter whatever party affiliation I may have. I face issues, and so I wasn't comfortable because it's not because Jonathan had put in place refineries that would make up for whatever shortfall, or so that we can import a little to make up for whatever shortfall from local production. There was nothing like that. So we were banking on still importation. But there were very clear pointers. Our level of consumption then was not the kind of thing that we saw in the last 8 years. We were consuming between 28, we were set to be consuming between 28 million to 30-something million.
Because we never really knew exactly how much we were consuming. You just said that recently.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even take Mila Kyari's word to the bank. Yes, I wouldn't, because they know what is going on in NNPC. But going back in time, APC as opposition party then said repeatedly and loud enough that Nigeria cannot consume up to 28 or 30-something million liters. As at then. That order is nothing that should have affected us. Going by even what the Comptroller General of Customs said, that NNPC says they release, we consume about 64, 67 million liters per day, but they release almost 90-something million to 100 million liters. And
by their record.
By their record. So that is no border. There is no record, there's no trace that we can have that excess, which would take almost 500 tankers with 70,000 capacity to ferry across borders. So there was something fundamentally wrong and false about the volume of fuel consumed outside crude stolen. We're not even going to that. We're talking about fuel now. So between Jonathan era of between 28 to 30-something million liters per day, to the last administration,
Buhari's administration,
looking at 64, 67 million liters. And it's impossible, and it's daily. How many stations take delivery daily? So, lot of questions, which lays credence to the earlier assertion by the late President Buhari, who said that the issue of fuel subsidy is a scam. And he asks in an interview that is up there for everybody to see, who is subsidizing who?
Really? Who's subsidizing who?
Who's subsidizing who? It's a fraud. And he was speaking as a former petroleum minister. Yes.
But people will also argue that he was very, very inept. He was very inactive.
No, we cannot say that as at then, though there have always been corruption in the petroleum sector. In fact, even in local communities where people do palm produce, and the village will say, okay, we place injunction, nobody harvests palm. When you harvest palm, you bring this quantity. The village, they will do that.
Oil palm.
So anywhere you find oil, it's going to be messy. People are going to get their hands soiled. But the level of soiling of hands now has gone to the point that somebody like Isa Yuguda, former governor of Bauchi State, he said that his friend, who has been involved in this oil stuff, went to the president and told the president, do something about the corruption in this sector. There's too much money. We are making too much money. So the long and short is that we've never had the kind of crisis we've had in the sector until the last 8 years, where subsidy was no longer in the region of a few billions or hundreds of billions. We actually went into trillions.
Into trillions.
But
disturbingly.
Not just disturbingly. It becomes more disturbing when when you dissect, when you analyze some informations that have been given to the public by the same NNPC. And the fact that it's like there is an abracadabra that's been played on citizens, that we don't ask questions, or we hear statements we refuse to analyze. And what are some of those things we need to look at? The issue of there was no provision for subsidy when the then President Buhari came in 2015. But between 2015 and 2016,
there was magic.
There was deregulation of the oil sector, the petroleum sector.
Exactly.
where the cost per liter was taken from 87 naira to 145. That was
Almost
whopping,
60,
that was
70%.
massive.
Exactly.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember.
And I said to myself, oh, they have done this so that when labor will react, they will be able to come down to maybe about 120
or 120, 125.
But labor, NLC was nowhere to be found, and government succeeded in forcing.
They got away with it.
They got away with it. And trust Nigerians, you push them to the wall, they don't fight back, they will break the wall. Or they collapse and die. Unfortunately, they succeeded. As if that was not enough, we now got to know about what is called direct sales, direct purchase contract.
Okay.
Which some persons still find it strange to even mention. Which I challenge NLC, at least they are about the major, apart from some civil society groups that are speaking up now, to ask the federal government and NNPCL to tell us, bring the records, what was direct sales, direct purchase contract all about. Simple. It was trade by barter. The Buhari administration decided, you give crude to refiners by whatever measure, and they give you finished products, which did not involve payment of at all. So how then did we get this idea of subsidy payment jumping from 300, 400 billion under Jonathan, 500 billion
into trillions?
Into trillions. And then you were still giving this oil. And then the crude oil theft got to the peak. Enough that one of those people that owns oil well, who bought oil well without even making any money from it, cried aloud to the world that since he bought this oil well, he has not seen anything. The thing is being siphoned.
Completely.
So we've never had the kind of corruption in the oil sector
that
until of recent past. And what has that translated to? It has made some persons extremely rich, and it has helped to throw Nigerians,
into
actual citizens,
abject poverty.
The kind of poverty that even the federal government admitted through MBS.
So in other words, it has increased the margin between the rich and the poor.
There's no more middle class. You're either poor in Nigeria or extremely poor in Nigeria, or you're extremely rich. And the elections came. Within the election period, we had the then president who was being treated like a deity.
You're referring to Muhammadu Buhari.
Buhari.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you don't see him, you look for the God, you don't see the God.
You have a lot of spokespersons now hovering around and talking about.
They were not the spokesperson, they
speaking for him.
We had what was called the presidency. And the president. And in the presidency, you have the presidency. This one will speak, this one will come and counter, and they'll say, where's our president? National Assembly, we're crying, where's our president?
At some point, they even became inconsistent. This one will come and say, presidency stands here. Another one comes and say, presidency stands here.
Thank God we've come past that era, but the damage done is what the present administration must correct. But unfortunately, something happened on the day of inauguration. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is his
first few statements.
It was a shocker. And some person said, people should not have taken that statement serious. Where the word of the king is, there is power. You cannot say subsidy is gone. And you juxtapose that with the fact that Dangote refinery
was just about to kick off.
We were told it would have been ready in March.
Yeah. And later postponed to July.
Which we are hearing that place was commissioned at 80%.
Oh, it wasn't even near complete.
That is not been refuted even by the people involved. And if it was 80% complete, and you were making this kind of statement and this kind of planning for removal of subsidy because there's going to be a local refiner whose capacity is more than what we need, and it's going to even be exporting, it means somebody was not telling us the truth.
Exactly.
Yes, and like Godwin Emefiele said, he said, federal government gave him a loan, and the man has returned 70%. And this is a factory that is still under construction, and the person was able to return 70%.
And it's a business.
It's
I remember he said that.
More questions than answers. But to climax everything, that refinery, they knew was not going to be ready. And the turnaround maintenance for the refineries owned by government,
moribund refineries,
which has run into trillions.
Yeah.
We've
And
not
still
heard,
not producing.
Still not producing. It has left much more to be desired. So what would have done with the incoming government? I had expected Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, after his inauguration, to say, okay, it's now time to clean up the mess, because he came on board not just as an APC leader, or his party was being returned to power, because he himself campaigned more against the party policies.
Exactly.
Than the opposition.
But before we get to Bola Tinubu, you know, you made some very germane points. Let us still stay with NNPCL.
Okay.
Because apparently what we have is just the beautification of the name and turning it into a public limited liability enterprise. I think all the inconsistencies still remain the same. Now, how do I mean? Immediately after the president, in his inaugural speech, says subsidy was gone. All aides and everybody were trying to manage, you know, because the thing had, you know, created some kind of effect
instantly in
the economy.
Instantly.
And then Mele Kyari came at some point and granted a press interview. There was a price list from NNPC that leaked then that had different cities.
Yes.
And he said that this document was being prepared. It wasn't time for it to be leaked. I guess someone would have leaked it. Well. But he said that there were new people who were coming into the game, and those people, newly licensed people, would also be dealing in the business. And before time, we shouldn't worry, the price will go down. That was, I remember, because I watched that video myself. But as at yesterday, was it yesterday or a few hours ago? What he seems to be saying is completely different. He's saying now that the price went up again because it reacted to market forces. And then the NMPPR guy is also saying global price for crude went up, and as such, you know, the average price per liter would have gone up. What do you make of the NNPC? What do you make of them? In terms of consistency of statement and policies, what do you make of the NNPC?
NNPC is supposed to have been treated the same way the central bank was treated.
I couldn't agree with you more.
We may not have known much about the EFCC, but EFCC is also under the searchlight of the administration. So for me, and for any conscious soul, we must know that our entire economy revolves around energy.
Of course.
We don't have electricity, so people generate their power
themselves
using fuel.
Yeah.
And the fuel sector, the corruption there is not because there was subsidy. The problem in the subsidy issue has to do with corruption in that subsector. So there's no way you talk about removal of fuel subsidy without dealing with the major issue there, which is corruption.
Exactly.
Which even Bola Tinubu himself in 2012, when he made a public statement, personally signed by him, addressing Jonathan's removal of the subsidy, said he called it salad of corruption in NNPC. Exact words, salad of corruption. So how did Mele Kyari survive the strong wind that blew away Emefiele, who could not control the exchange rate, who introduced, with the approval of his boss,
Naira design that became a catastrophe.
Not even design, whatever it was. One of the worst things, worse than COVID.
So people say Naira recoloration.
Yeah, recoloration. And then very embarrassingly too, And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything about that episode is something that definitely, if this administration will not look into it,
Yeah.
another administration will address it. Because
You think so?
no, definitely no. There's no way we could have gone through that and allow what we are hearing, like the church you've heard about, what church that have been brought up now. Let's not even go there. So
Yeah.
the bottom line is
Yeah.
the corruption in the subsidy regime is the major problem. It's not the subsidy itself. And we are a country with the highest number of poor people, multidimensional poor people on planet Earth.
Yeah.
So
The
you
highest
cannot,
percentage.
yes, you cannot talk about removal of subsidy for people that cannot even move from one location to the other. People that their minimum wage is about one of the lowest in the world. Smaller African countries are paying more than we are.
A lot of African countries are paying
are
more.
paying more. So how do you make up this? The bottom line is, Kerry, I'm sure Mr. President must be looking at that direction somehow, anyhow, but something should be done soon. They have not done well. When you said that price list leaked, they must have done it intentionally.
That was a statement.
Yeah, that was no,
Because it
we
was
know
almost
them.
25 minutes or
yeah,
thereabout
you just
interview.
throw it and fill the polls. Meanwhile,
They had a grand plan that was never in favor of the average Nigerian.
NMPCL is no longer the regulating body because it's in the business.
They still claim they are the regulating
No,
bodies.
you cannot have a referee.
Yes, you cannot be a judge in your own case.
Yes, you
I
cannot
agree
be
with you.
a referee and you are playing in the match.
But we saw the statements recently.
No,
They
that's-
claim that as regulators,
No, no.
they use that word multiple
It's
times.
self-indicting.
Yes, it is.
The
It
challenge
is,
that
and nobody seems to be
people
talking
don't
about it.
listen, or when they listen, but because they have some persons have given up, so they just hear and let them do their thing. Let them do their thing has made us to be where we are
today.
Because I had expected, though Asijuwaju does not have, is not a philanthropist. Yeah, he's a politician. He's a godfather in politics. He does not have the image of a philanthropist.
Philanthropist at all.
Yes. So, but when you talk about taxation, you give that to him. Yes, because you look at Lagos State. Lagos State, the economy of Lagos State is higher than the economy of many African.
But the economy of Lagos State has always been like that. That has also been arguments back and forth.
No, it has not
Because
always been.
they want to always attribute the economy of Lagos State, to be what Tinubu made.
No, it's an error also to do that. Why am I bringing that aspect? I'm bringing that aspect because during Tinubu's era, how much were they generating? 600 million?
But then the 600 million was big.
It was big, but compared to what they were supposed to
also
generate
forget
even
the,
then.
price purchasing parity, the value of the naira as at then compared to much later, because naira has always
beyond
lost
that,
value as time
where
went
you
on.
have a society, an environment where virtually 90% of the inhabitants are active people.
Yeah.
It translates to money.
Yes, it does.
You
It translates to revenue.
You've actually taxed everybody.
Translates to resources, yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So, but between then and now, they're generating about 50-something billion monthly.
Yes.
That's a lot of money. And then what do you have on ground to show that, it's a center of excellence, this and that? It's not really there. So the image we try to give to the president may not help him.
That's correct.
Yeah, it wouldn't help him. We need to know who Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is, his antecedents, and then if there's a departure, if there's something else you want him to be, you must be intentional about engaging him to say, please, Nigerians cannot afford to pay taxes. They cannot afford to take the load that government should carry for them. Because he said during the campaigns, he avoided a lot of these town hall meetings and all of that.
Deliberately.
But when he speaks, he will tell you his mind. There's a video there that is there. He said, this is what he's going to do. He will take away the purchasing power of people and expand the tax net. What does that mean?
Oh, he used that word, taking away the purchasing power
of the people.
Or maybe he was trying to use it to do some kind of analogy.
I'm quoting verbatim. The
No
video
government claims he wants to take away the...
But he's a very frank person. He's
very blunt. Just like the first inaugural
he will
statement,
have you.
subsidy is gone. Exactly.
he is like an emperor. Until you have this at the back of your mind, you won't be able to deal with Asiwaju. And why is it also good? People have been saying that we need a dictator to be able to beat us to line. Asiwaju has that attribute. But what will be the greatest undoing? If what he wants to do is not pro-people, he would do it. He would do it. He won't stop him. So how do you save the situation? By speaking or by engaging government that, Your Excellency, please, this very initiative is not pro-people, which is what Labour is saying. But we've not been able to, Labour has not been able to build that trust yet. Pai Modu, Pascal Bafuyao, and you go to Oshomole, those were Labour leaders. And like
that actually put a lot of pressure on government.
Like ASU, the current ASU. I think they have given the man, I've forgotten his name now.
Professor, is he Oshode or what's
something.
Yes.
So that is the kind of person, but when they stand on an issue, you can't bribe them.
It.
No,
they
you
are
can't.
Consistent.
They are consistent.
They are ready to take any kind of sacrifice.
But that is how it should be.
That's the way it should be.
Now, I've just said something that's very critical.
Yes.
When you know the antecedents of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that he believes in raising capital, he believes in having access to funds, he believes in grooming people and using them,
empowering them, but using them to his advantage.
Exactly.
He's a political businessman.
Yes. And when you also look at the fact that we don't have model leaders, so he must have raised people, yes. What has been their contribution? You just people to occupy spaces. The level of productivity in the country to safeguard, to correct the damage done by the last administration is to tell the government, please, 133 million people were thrown into multidimensional poverty.
Yeah.
And I think it was World Bank that said within this quarter, including with this fuel wahala,
regime,
over 4 to 7 million people have been added. And
into the poverty now.
Yes. And you can be sure it's far more than that. It's far,
of course.
Far more than
far more than that.
So what is the way forward? Other developed countries subsidize the energy sector. They are the ones that travel. They are the ones that own properties outside the country. They know these things. So what is so special that Nigeria cannot augment,
still subsidize
it, and deal with the corruption?
Anyway, we'll soon go on a break. But I'd like to take you up on that statement. Because in as much as a lot of people will agree with you, a lot of people will disagree. First off, the three major candidates, Atiku, Obi, and Tinubu, while campaigning, when they were candidates of their parties, all agreed that subsidy will go. Now, they may have had patterns or methodologies with which they will eventually remove subsidy. And let's also recall that in the Buhari's last budget, there was no subsidy beyond July. So if you now bring back that, other countries have a way of subsidizing energy, very correct. Do you think Nigeria, in its current state with deficits into trillions and nothing to actually generate enough money to even, take care of things, do you think that the idea of removing subsidy is not good enough? I think we have a very short period before we go on, but you can respond.
In a nutshell, is there truly, or was there truly, fuel subsidy in terms of cash?
Okay.
Was there something called direct sales, direct purchase contract?
Or not?
Which was a trade by barter? Or not? Was there the highest level of crude oil theft and fraud in the so-called fuel subsidy, where funds can be recovered? I am of the school of thought that if we probe that sector, we will recover trillions of dollars.
We will uncover a lot of mysteries.
Trillions. And we can even afford not to even ask for debt relief. We can pay off what we are owing and then bounce back to life. But for as long as we don't talk about the corruption in that sector, we only look at subsidy is gone. Which subsidy?
And genuinely investigate.
No. It's
That is in the
Their-
sector.
their
That NNPC.
No, their confessions
Already signs.
People have
that,
said,
yeah.
even the what do you call the head of naval chief
Okay.
said when they arrest these trawlers
Yeah.
that carry crude, they don't have papers from NNPC. It's by the time you are caught, they now call and they will now send papers, which means
The NNPC is completely aiding them.
but like the last one, the MC Tora, what the MT Tora that was burnt
Yes.
recently.
Yes.
You've heard.
Yes.
Complete 1 day allocation of Nigeria in crude was in that ship.
Wow.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? Until a leader talks and deals with the corruption in that sector, I don't take anybody seriously. Talking about the issue of how subsidy can be addressed.
Exactly.
Let me give you a quote what I see what you said. 12th of January 2012.
Okay.
In his memo
Okay.
to Jonathan, he said, first, government needs to clean up and throw away the salad of corruption in the NNPC.
According to him.
According to him. Then proceed to lay the foundation for a mass transit system in the railways and road network with long-term bonds. Fully develop the energy sector towards revitalizing Nigeria's economy and easing the burden any subsidy removal may have on the people. You don't just remove subsidy. You don't make a policy statement without a policy framework.
True.
So what happened was an accident. And that accident, there's casualty already. But what do? We can salvage what remains and bounce back. Yes, we may not be able to recover some things because the damage is colossal. But we can do something.
You really seem to be as concerned
yes, I
as
am.
a lot of Nigerians on this issue. Okay, we'll go on a break. We'll continue this conversation. Remember, it's Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. We'll go on a break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Join us again.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, welcome back. It is still an engaging session on political spectrum, and I still have my guest here with me, Citizen Matthew Kofi Okono, Citizen MKO. The first time I heard the name, I thought it was the same MKO and all that. Yeah, I'm enjoying, you know, the angles with which you are looking at this.
Thank you.
If we continue to discuss NFPC, we won't go home. We'll go home. But recently also, there's been a barrage of comments and a lot of advice, so to speak, to the current administration, Bola Tinubu, especially from the civil society organizations. This one that happened yesterday was led by Civil Liberties Organization, Mr. Igo Akariga, a known person to a lot of us. You know, a lot of us emulate him because he's a journalist per se. But as it is now, I think he's trying to delve into the area of political activism. But he made some very, very clear, unambiguous statements yesterday. Then much earlier too, while Rafsanjani, former Amnesty International executive director, now a member of CISLAC, or has always been, but has been at the forefront of civil society, they are saying the same thing. That Tinubu should not appoint corrupt former office holders. A lot of CSOs are saying that. It means that there is something brewing. Can you give us an overview of what they seem to be talking about? At least so that our audience can have a better, you know, understanding of what do you think the CSOs are talking about? What have they seen? Are you seeing it?
Anybody that is conscious, anybody that loves this country, you cannot shy away from the fact that the corruption over the years, let's just talk about the Fourth Republic from 1999 till date, has been monumental. There's always been corruption in political systems and governance across the world. But where you have a country whose image has been soiled,
battered
seriously, and the fact that the judiciary has been a bit handicapped. They have many cases, and some of these cases involved politically exposed persons who must be protected,
so to speak.
Yeah, because of their party, because of who they are and their capacity. It now becomes difficult to have corruption cases trashed out. You have people who were charged for corruption in 1999, between 1999 and 2003, 2007.
Yes.
Those cases are still in court.
Yes.
And some of them, over time, one thing will lead to another, and they will be withdrawn. Those that went to jail will be given amnesty, plea pardon, and they come back and then get reintegrated.
But you funny thing, the CSO mentioned names, like Onanefe Ibori of Delta, like Chief Lucky Igbenedion. They mentioned names.
Now, when you mention,
and they were more particular about former governors.
No, there's no point being particular about a particular set. Somebody like Ibori served his term.
He did.
Not in Nigeria.
It doesn't mean he didn't commit.
No, he
what
committed.
He was told.
Yeah,
whereas Adonka, the CJ and Den had cleared him of all the charges.
Those are the issues. Our legal system is under trial as well. And they have not also been well positioned to address these issues. We've been advocating for a corruption court, or a special court to treat corruption matters, so that a matter can be treated within a year, 2 or 3 years. Why keep a matter for 7, 12 years? Some of them are going 20-something years, as old as democracy. this
judges have been changed from time to time. Maybe some judges that started me that even passed on and all
I
that.
tell you sincerely that what they have said, by the time they list, for instance, the list of ministers, which is being expected any moment now.
That is what is causing the tension.
I can bet you that, well, let me not be too lavish, maybe 40 to 50% of those who may likely be on that list
will be former ex-governors.
Not just
ex-ministers.
Ex-this, ex-that, who, if you beam light on them, you discover that there are some cases that may be going with them. But one thing is clear, if someone has not been convicted, if he's standing trial, you can't indict him.
Yes, because
until we have that kind of
innocent until proven guilty.
So people will hide under the umbrella that have not been convicted. Despite very clear charges. Even we look at the party. Like the party chairman had just resigned. He was standing case of about 7 billion.
And he was not among the class of 99 that I visited.
No, he was a class of 99, but he did not join.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't among them that visited.
Yeah, because
but he was supposed to be a part of the class of 99.
Yeah, because
and I guess that even caused part of the problems for him.
No, not quite.
In the APC.
When you need to know people's antecedents and where he came from. You know, he was Buhari's slot.
Yes,
Mr. President, he was appointed by Mr. President.
By the Buhari slot.
And Buhari had begged them, please, you people, governors, you normally pick your own successors. Allow me to pick my successor. He could not have his way. So they just allowed him, okay, pick chairman. And he picked the chairman. And the way the chairman has been acting.
His body language has been pro-North. Power should remain in the North.
Not just that.
And that angered a lot of other people from other sections of Nigeria.
So, you have such people whose cases are still with EFCC,
quite active,
leading the party, and you don't want him to nominate his associate who also has a case there. It's impossible. So until issues of corruption are dealt with timeously, you will be having more corrupt people in and out of the system, and they keep recycling themselves. In fact, the particular crop that has not really recycled themselves as much as others is that crop of 99.
Seriously?
Yes.
So you think that visit that day was not just a courtesy call to their former classmates in quotes, asking that they want to give support, they are there, you can tap into our wealth of knowledge. You think that meeting that day had its own agenda? No, it's okay. Your thoughts are your thoughts.
Multiple.
Nobody's going to judge you.
Multiple.
But let people judge.
Why?
Yes.
Tinubu, one of the things I'm very much against, I'm sorry, I'm not digressing, is the fact that we do not finish with cases in court before we swear in our leaders.
You think it's not...
No. It was even in the Electoral Act. By the time it was removed, sincerely speaking, I never knew. Until after the elections, we now discovered that, if we are going to do cases 180 days, that means
but the Constitution didn't say
it was
not.
It was
just
removed.
Gave a tenor
no.
for court cases, which most times exceeds the day that you inaugurate.
It was an item.
Okay, before.
But
was expunged.
So, with Asiwaju, with the kind of case he has in court, and with the kind of person he is, once Asiwaju is in charge, even the people he did not want to work with, he will bring them because he needs people. Even if you don't like him, he will bring you. Look at Ambode. Ambode, that even the president begged Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please let Ambode have a second term. He said no way. But today, Ambode is whining and dining with Asiwaju. So the class of 99, it's typical of who Asiwaju is. Bring my classmates. I'm going to work with them. And a number of them are quite brilliant.
Exactly.
Look at somebody like Obongata.
Yeah,
Obongata is at least is
one of that class is a distinguished gentleman.
Super. Not just that. His ideas. Forget about maybe they finish and just grant interview and we speak so glowingly. But when Obongata addresses issues, he will tell you nothing but the truth. Like the start of governance, like what's going on in the local government system. And knowing Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be a pro-democracy activist, and he almost lost his life fighting the military to entrench democracy during the
before now exiled.
Yes.
Yeah, before he exiled.
being a pro-democracy activist and being somebody that had canvassed for practice of federalism, it was a very good thing having people like Obama there, because Obama will not compromise.
Yeah, but that's just 1 out of 20.
You know, it doesn't matter.
But you know that visit is what is sparking off all these advice and press statements from civil society that, hey, we know that ministerialist is coming soon.
There are people worse than class of 99. Worse. After class of 99. A number of those people in class of 99, they did wonders.
But according
How
to
much
them,
we even get?
according to them, they said in the Fourth Republic, they set the template for the grandiose kind of corruption that the nation is suffering from.
Somehow,
now.
it may be a bit exaggerated.
Okay.
I can say that because in Akwa Ibom State, the kind of things Obama did.
I understand. You are seeing it from your perspective.
Yes. No, even you go to rivers, people like Peter Odili. Yeah. Even Lagos State, if not for anything, I see what he was able to have a master plan, and not just that, like the monorail project, which was started by Jakonde. You know, Jakonde actually started. The credit should not be given to Jakonde started the Metro Line project, which Buhari came and scuttled, but he brought it back because leadership must solve problem. The problem of traffic congestion in Lagos had reached a crisis point. You understand? So there's nothing wrong with class of 99, but there's everything wrong with corrupt people.
A lot of people will not agree with you.
No. You cannot demonize class of 99. Whereas we have some very younger ones
that are
thereafter
worse.
Deadly. No. Some of those people are poor. Look at the kind of houses that they live in. They were very modest. But look at the kind of houses that even commissioners are living in now. What billions? And they are very unproductive.
Very, very.
Highly unproductive. And they are corrupt. So we cannot single out class of 99. I wouldn't do that. Not because of Obama. No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Yes. Corruption is corruption.
I quite agree with you.
Corruption is corruption in any regime.
I quite agree with
what we are to do is to fight not the kind of style of that last administration.
Okay.
Like you heard Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka. That administration came to fight corruption. It became the worst thing to happen to the country in terms of the issue. So that the people that were even in charge of fighting the corruption were themselves so corrupt that they were
engulfed.
Not just arrested. And up till now, they have not been tried because you need to you touch this person and you want to deal with him fully, you yourself, you follow.
Exactly.
It's a web.
It's a
web. Until
it's
we have a leader who is ready to truly fight corruption. Citizens are willing. Citizens are the one bearing the brunt of all this. So let's not demonize class of 99. I say to that.
Okay, but Daniel Bwala, in one of his interviews in one of these media outfits like ours, very popular, shared an opinion and said, this list we are all waiting for, I think it would be appropriate that even if President Tinubu will appoint some ex-governors, he should be moderate enough not to be more than 10% of the entire total number. And he also reiterated that the reasons are because, one, a lot of the former governors have had their hands soiled. Then secondly, he was of the opinion that there are a lot of other people who can serve in these offices efficiently and effectively. Why recycle old leaders? So let's look at it from the perspective of recycling old, public office holders. Does that really tell well for an administration who is not only fighting corruption, fighting almost near economic collapse, fighting a lot of issues, still in this sense of building this nation? You don't call our economy near collapse. The economy has collapsed, just that the ignorance among citizens and the masquerade that those in authority are putting on. We are using almost 90-something% of our entire resources to service debts. Because not even paying back. Servicing. Servicing. That's terrible. And by World Bank figure, by 2024, 100% won't be enough to service our debt. So the economy has collapsed. Wow. Yes. But those in authority don't care because
revenue from crude. And those who just want to have access to power to do other illegal businesses.
And their own private ends.
Yes. Look at what is happening in the north. Are you aware? What is that? I've forgotten what that resource that's been gotten from Borno State is called. It's more expensive than gold. It's still being mined.
Okay.
And then you go to Zamfara. Individuals collaborating with some unscrupulous foreign nationals are mining gold, and we are so impunity is so high that
fleecing away all
they even sell it to government. They sell it to federal government and they pay them. They control resources, whereas in the Niger Delta,
in the south, the oil
belongs to the country, but the other section, the resources, natural resources, belongs to individuals who are able to mine them.
Injustices are very glaring.
So people being in public office is not just because it's a meal ticket, it's a guarantee to be out of poverty, because a typical Nigerian poverty awaits you. And that consciousness makes them to be very visionary. You say we have leaders who don't have vision. They have vision. The vision is, it's my turn to make as much as I can, because you must be able to escape poverty. So until we have a leader who is selfless, that was why the statement made by Senator, the wife to Bola Tinubu, Remi said, God has blessed us. We have so much
money. We are
not after
the common patrimony.
If that statement were to be made by His Excellency President Bola Tinubu, and then he makes some of these statements that we are seeing now, that the corruption in the oil sector, if oil sector alone will recover so much. Remember, National Assembly, under Jonathan, there was a probe.
Yes,
and that report is there.
Serious probe,
And they know where these oils were stolen to. They have all the data.
They have all the information.
They have all the information. So what stops the administration to say, we want to end the corruption there? Citizens will be willing to wait for, even if it's 3 to 4, 5 months, under whatever level of suffering, for those money to be recovered.
If it's genuine.
If it's genuine.
So that means even this leadership is not genuine enough.
No.
You're not communicating to the citizens that
there is no way you have corrupt people
around
or people who rig themselves to power. And they said they rig themselves to power for the sake of the common man. No, it's not for you. It's not for me. Yes.
But you know the case is still in court. So.
No, I'm not saying, no, at any level. At any level.
Okay.
Even those,
generally speaking,
even those whose cases are not in court. I hope you know that National Assembly, I'm not sure that we have as many cases that we used to have before in court. The major ones in court is just governorship
and
presidential.
The mighty presidential.
Good. But what am I trying to say generally? Anybody that rigs himself to power is not doing it because of you. Then more importantly, which we have to note, without an enlightened, conscious citizens who will be able to engage leaders, it's not, anybody can rig himself to power, but you find it very difficult to deal with enlightened citizens. You can change a corrupt leader by placing demand for productivity and accountability.
Accountability, most important.
Until that is done, for these people, corrupt persons, they will keep recycling themselves. Yes, they take care of their own. There are some persons who don't want to be in government, but they can be very useful to government, like we have been doing. We don't have to be in government. After I had an experience of being in government for a very short time at the lowest level, it became my worst nightmare in life. I used more than my entire monument to run the system. I need to save my name.
Exactly.
Yes, and the records are there.
Exactly.
Even it has turned to even a case. And once you find that you will not be able to fit in, you'll be sidelined. No matter what you are bringing to the table, they don't need it.
Power doesn't ever want to be.
They don't need it. In fact, for you to be brilliant, for you to come with ideas, you are a threat to the system, because here ideas don't work. If you want to bring accountability, it will not work, because how would you be able to explain that, oh, you were given X amount to go and do borehole in your community, and you go there and tell them you are coming there to to give them from your pocket. Meanwhile, this money was budgeted for a program, and you don't go back and retire that, oh, this has been done. I mean, it's impossible. So Nigeria will not be able to survive beyond, call it 2023, if corruption is not fought frontally. And that will put fear into corrupt people. If you are corrupt, they will call to give you an appointment. I don't want. You gladly tell them, sorry, I don't want. I'm now into private business. Yes. So I think going forward, this administration may even think of declaring amnesty for corrupt persons.
Amnesty again?
No.
Okay.
For corrupt persons.
Okay, we have a short period. And we still have one or two things we need to cover. The NLC made a statement yet again that the 500 billion palliative is like robbing the poor to feed the rich. And they gave, they tried to explain. They even broke it down to 70 billion going to the National Assembly, 35 billion going to judiciary. Invariably, according to them, not me, the executives have settled the judiciary as well as the legislature. Everybody have had their own fair share. And then they talk about miserly 8,000 for a family. Because normally when you estimate family, is an average of 5-6 persons. Exactly. 8,000 monthly for 6 months to cushion, removal of subsidy. And then Joe Ajero, in clear terms, is saying unambiguously that this is robbing the rich to pay the poor. How do you see it? Robbing the poor to pay the rich. Exactly. How do you see this?
The statements, I've read the statements. It's very clear. I align with Labour, and it also is an indictment. It had exposed some persons around Mr. President. Remember, the last administration had a program. They had a ministry, very innovative ministry, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management. And a couple of trillions, maybe between 2 point something to 3 or more trillions, was passed through that ministry.
Up to 2 point something
trillion? Yes.
Wow.
And if you ask them to bring the records, they have asked them. They asked the lady in the National Assembly. I remember she said, the poor people are ashamed to be identified as being poor, so they don't want to give their names.
And that was the excuse.
That's not even an excuse. It's not even a reason. It's something beneath us as a people.
I can imagine.
It's an insult on our sensibilities. So there was that humanitarian program which failed woefully, which is also subject to probe, like the Nigeria Air, which is an embarrassment.
Complete embarrassment.
Complete embarrassment.
And nothing has been done. Nobody has been arrested. Nobody has been called for questioning.
Yeah. You even challenge the National Assembly people that you House Committee, if you call me, I won't come because you wanted to be keyed into this thing. Yeah, he said so. Yeah, he said so. So that's not it. The issue is 8,000 naira to a family. And they loved the term. To them, whosoever created that thought
felt it was a benign, novel idea.
8,000. And funny enough, like Nigerians are very, very light-hearted persons. They turn logo
creative when it comes to humor.
Tinubu's logo, the Infinity logo, they turn it to 8. You say they had warned you. You saw this 8 on this cap, and it has always been there. So the self-eating snake logo now became 8,000.
8,000.
It's impossible. Not in this era. A typical poorest of the poor Nigerian wants good governance. Not that level.
Not handouts.
Not that level. It can be handouts. I have approved of that kind of handout, but you pass it through by recreating the People's Bank.
Okay.
Of the IDB era.
Okay, the People's Bank.
People's Bank. Recreate or call it by whatever name. But it's got to be, call it Citizens Bank, where you can pass grants, palliatives through. They will go there.
Of all sorts.
Soft loans,
bursaries,
interest-free loans. In fact, the school, what do you call it now? This loan for student stuff.
Yeah, student loan.
You go there, fill a form,
They have
add
all
your
your
passport,
information. Yeah.
address, contact person, next of kin, and collect your money, palliative, and walk away. Collect your loan and walk away. Come back and refund, because some of these loans will be revolving. You understand?
Yeah.
Stimulate the economy. Very novel idea of what did they call that program where graduates were given attached to schools, attached to where to work.
Okay, NYSC?
No, not NYSC. A particular scheme I've just...
This one that just passed? Or
They are
under
still
Good Luck Jonathan?
No, under Buhari.
Empower.
Empower.
Yeah.
Empower. Wonderful idea, but no exit program. You collect 30,000 naira for 2 years or thereabout. At the end of 2 years, you are thrown back to the job market.
You're back to square one.
Everybody. Not even that, 20% or 30, 40% were absorbed. Into the system. So this administration cannot continue with a failed and using loan. Remember, and then you are getting loan.
Yes.
Foreign loan to hand out to 12 million out of 133 million multi-dimensionally poor people. There's something wrong. We cannot. I align with NLC, but I'm still afraid that NLC may not have what it takes to engage with an administration headed by somebody like
time has
Bola
really
Tinubu.
gone.
So what do we do?
Time was really
Citizens
gone. Yes.
must speak up. More NGOs. I know there are pro-government NGOs everywhere, but we don't care about such.
Yeah.
Speak up. Help the administration. Help.
Well, there was a meeting of Nigerian Governors Forum, and at the subnational level, I think a plan is in place, because it will be too heavy for the presidency alone to give these palliatives. But thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
This has been an explosive one. It has been eye-opening, and we hope that anytime we call you, you would oblige us so that people can get enough from your wealth of knowledge and information.
Spectrum is
so
a family.
Thank you. We'll be speaking to Citizen MKO, a great man and a son of the soil here in Uyo, the state's capital. I'm afraid we are going to end the program right now and probably see you tomorrow. Remember to join us same time tomorrow. Have a great day.